Hello, welcome once again to Off the Shelf Books on Tour. We're doing some children's books today, which is interesting and infusing for the people of the future, I think, for me, because I'm long past reading children's books. Thank you for bringing this one to us. My guest is Gretchen Detora, and this is Dave and Danny. Pay It Forward. Interesting concept, premise, and it's very important that you wrote this book. Can you tell us why?
So it was an important reason why I wrote this book. A year ago, just over a year ago, a really phenomenal human being lost his life in an automobile accident, commuting to work. His oldest son was in my class 2 years ago. His middle son is now in my class this year. And his name was David Vaughn. He was the ultimate pay it forward kind of guy. He was an amazing dad, husband, brother, son, friend to all. And just to give you an idea of what kind of guy this was, 2,000 people came to his wake. And he came from a family in North Andover, Massachusetts, a amazing family there. I can't say enough about them. And David was one of 8. So I went to the services for David, and I said, what can I do to help the family? They have a trust fund that was started to help the children and his wife, Kristen. And so I said, all of a sudden, like this, I don't know, call it divine inspiration, but it just came to me. And I wrote the story. I based it on David, and I said, he is this kind of guy that just gives to so many people. Why not put that in a story? And now I can spread his message to so many others, children and adults alike. Mm-hmm. And so that's how it came about.
It's almost validation in print for what we hear. And amazingly enough, we hear it more from children than grown-ups.
Yeah.
And I love that the children shall lead the way.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
So what a gift David left for his children.
Oh, absolutely.
That they have picked up and remembered what he taught them.
That's right. That's right.
And they have brought you to writing the book.
Yes.
To giving back to them. So it really does go full cycle for no one who's ever experienced it. It
That's
does.
Right. I'm a great believer in out of tragedy, a positive can come. And so this was kind of my thought. He tragically lost his life, but let's give meaning to this gentleman's life who was, beyond kind, beyond. I mean, I heard a story once. He walked out of a Fenway Park and he had $20 on him, and there was this guy sitting there on the street, a homeless guy, and his brother told me this story, and he just handed it to him, and that's the kind of guy he was. And when I wrote the book, of course, I got the blessing of the family. I had the idea. I contacted one of David's brothers, Brian, who runs the trust fund, and I said, you don't know me. I'm your nephew's teacher, but this is what I've done. So I went and presented the story to them, and they gave me the green light, and they were, because, maybe they said, no, we don't want you to do this. So, of course, out of respect for David and his family, and they have just embraced this. So
they must have been as excited as you when that box came and you got to open it up and see it.
I was the one that opened it myself. I was by myself. My husband and I went and picked up 800 books, because when you self-publish, you are the marketer.
The everything.
You are the everything, and this has been a learning process. But I am so passionate about this book, so passionate about the message that it's nothing to me to every single day do something to promote the book. Last night we had a great fall festival at the school, and the PTO and the principal and Kristen, David's wife, blessed it so that I could sell the books there. And the kids come up and we love this story.
So someone who was interested in the audience, how would they acquire it?
So they could go to my website, which is daveanddanny.org. Mm-hmm. And they can order the book right there. And so I ship it out. They just, go right to the section where it says order the book.
Now, I have a teacher in my family. I've been called a teacher in my day. I would think every teacher would want this in their classroom.
I think that's what my goal is. And
Do you find, has it been well received?
it is. We're getting it out there. I have some schools that I'm actually going into as a local author, and reading the book, and presenting kind of a little lesson about paying it forward. I think that's, we're at the grassroots level right now, but that's how it's going. I just got an email this morning from, she's an earth angel, this friend of mine in New York, and she bought 25 books, just bought them and said, I'm going to distribute them to schools, to doctors' offices, and that's what she's done. And I said, that's exactly what I would love, is that somebody may not want to buy a book and keep it, but they may want to buy it and donate it to a hospital, to a school, to a library. But yeah, I agree with you. Teachers, this is just it's a great platform to start for a discussion completely.
Within the classroom.
Yeah.
I think it's better than a bullying lecture.
Yeah.
Instead of saying you don't bully, you can't bully, you
Right.
shouldn't, shut up.
Yeah.
If you give them something else to do,
Yeah.
that they and their contemporaries can and almost try to best one another,
Yep. Yes, absolutely.
then that's better than a bullying
Yeah.
challenge or don't do it.
Right. Yeah, focus on the positive.
Uh-huh.
Because kids love to be,
They want to help.
they want to help. They want to be told that they're good. They run up, every day, Mrs. Detora, look what I did. Look at my picture. Look at, they're
But
great.
you worded it very well, and your sentiment comes through in the part that I think is the best, and I teach my kids, is the humble. It doesn't have to get your name on the board and a gold star.
That's right.
You don't have to get a pat on the back.
That's right.
If you read it and you digest it and you do it and nobody knows you
That's
did
right.
it. And when you see that come to fruition, when you see someone else smile and
Yeah.
someone else's life
Yeah.
is better because you passed them, you held the door, you
Yeah.
picked up what they dropped.
Yeah.
That's a better feeling to nurture in a child
Absolutely.
than applause, and you did a wonderful thing. I often
true.
challenge my son that he's going to break his arm someday patting himself on the back. And that's not what I want for
Yeah.
any child.
Right.
I want them to know how good it is in my own situation to be able to bring this to the public. To be able to welcome you here and applaud your efforts, a sentiment, a diligence, an effort for another family
That's right.
who must have been good to you or you wouldn't have even thought of it. You respected and appreciated and valued the way they led their life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So now you're giving back to them, and somebody's going to pick this up, and another child, and maybe even a parent, will learn from it,
Sure.
and it just keeps
Yeah.
on going.
Well, that's really my hope for this book, is that it really gets out there. The energy is starting to build, and it's exciting. You can't expect it to be an overnight success. I mean, all people that start with something, they really have to, especially if you're passionate about something, it'll just come out. It just comes out of you.
What did our mothers used to say? Anything worth having is worth working for.
That's right. That's right.
One of the suggestions, rebuilt my school library while my kids were there. And at the birthday parties, and everybody gets so many things, and then the mother tears her hair. We would give the children a book, but when they finished it, it went to the school library.
Lovely.
So if you wanted to share it with a friend, you'd have to find it at the bottom of your closet.
Yep.
It wasn't in the bottom of the toy box.
Yep.
It was great, and
Yeah.
it's in the library, and you can actually find it.
That's right.
And that built up our stock of newer and more modern books
There you
that
go.
you could put in a school library, because needless to say, there's very seldom money
That's right.
for a school library, and you get double the value for your investment, and it's the children take part in it. We had to move the library, and they lined the kids up. There was thousands of dollars.
Wow.
And we said no, so the whole school lined up the stairs, and they passed the books. Over 10,000 books up the stairs, and about 3 o'clock they started to wait. and get a little tired.
Yeah.
Ran to a 7-Eleven, bought 5 bags of gumdrops, and just ran down the line, popping one in there. Just enough sugar to get them over the hump, and we finished.
That's
And
great.
I was proud of them. They were proud of themselves.
Yeah.
They were invested in that
Yeah.
library.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one of the great things about this theme that is in this book, the Pay It Forward theme, is that our principal has adopted Pay It Forward for this year's theme at our school, which is fantastic. So she has been so behind me in this endeavor and so supportive. So it's just great to have that support from your peers.
But it changes the mood. It changes the conversation.
Yep, it does.
It changes from another rule, another regulation,
Yeah,
to something positive,
it is.
something happy, something to rejoice
That's right.
about, and not just on one day, but
Yeah.
throughout the whole year. I think it would be great if other schools got the book
Well,
and took their lead.
It's getting out there. It really is. I do believe that that's how things spread. It's just sometimes one at a time. You use social media, you use other schools to contact and get the message out there. So.
Well, we're talking to about 750,000, so let's hope that they heard us.
Yeah. Well, I'm very hopeful that, like I said, even if, with holidays coming up, it's a great opportunity to purchase a book for a child, a grandchild, niece, nephew, whatever, or to donate to
Or an
something.
arrogant adult that doesn't know about it.
Yep, adults can definitely benefit.
If you don't get taught, you really don't know.
That is the truth, and I will speak to that because I was raised this way, and I raised my son, who just turned 29 yesterday. I raised him that way. He is actually living the message that I passed along. He's done so much in his own life to help others. My dad was the vision behind the Greater Lawrence Vocational Technical High School in Lawrence, Mass. He thought we have no vocational education here in this area, so he got this school built back in the 60s. He passed 20 years ago, but thousands of lives have been affected by his vision.
Because of what his dream, the
Right.
effort, the energy,
Right.
paying it forward, because he really didn't have an idea of the generation that was coming.
That's
and
right.
whether it would reach fruition.
And so, that's how I was taught. So now I'm like, well, how, what can I do? So I'm a teacher. So I can write a book and
Pay it forward.
And impact lots of lives.
Well, thank you very much for bringing the book to us. When you finish the sequel, will you bring it back?
Absolutely.
And we'll pay it forward again?
Absolutely.
Very nice to have you
Thank you
visit
very
with us.
much.
Thank you for bringing the book.
Thank you very much.
So that's it for our first book today, Dave and Danny, Pay It Forward. Please avail yourself of looking into it. It's excellent holistically for everybody, not just little people, big people too. We have another author coming in. Please join us. Here we go, book number 2 for Children's Book Day. This one is most interesting, and I've not seen it looked at from this point of view before. Congratulations, young lady.
Thank you.
Susie Canal.
Canale.
Thank you. And it's Boston, you're my hometown, which us who are here know that. But when you're a little girl and you're told you're moving to Boston, who unfortunately is in the news quite often, that's a little scary.
Was scary.
Were you
Yes.
that little girl once?
Actually, I wasn't. After the marathon bombing, I was approached by my publisher from Mascot Books, and they asked me if I could write a story about Boston Strong. And I said, I don't think I really want to. It was too close. I was living in the Boston area at the time, and my home was included in the shutdown, so we stayed home for the day. and the situation was a little too close, and I didn't know how people would feel about coming out.
And
with a book.
everybody was writing something. You didn't want to do it wrong.
Right. So I thought about it, and I said, look, I can do this, but I'm going to put my own spin on it, and I'm going to do it in a little bit of a different way. So I came up with a story about 10 strengths that make Boston strong, but it was told to a little girl who is moving to Boston who is afraid because it's a city and it's different from where she's living, because I realized that there were a lot of children, including my own children, who maybe didn't understand the whole
We
extremity.
didn't understand it.
And
How the
us
children, yeah.
Also. So I thought that it might benefit a little child who maybe could be soothed a little bit by these aspects of Boston.
And you touch on the things that we all see every day and see on the news every day and hear about. And sometimes we forget just how special a city we are and how lucky we are to have so much, so close, and so compact.
Yes.
I mean, I think you could put Boston and New York City 4 times, right?
Yes, you could.
But Boston is unique in that you've mentioned the historical venues, you've mentioned the sports venues, the people, the ethnicity of it all. And you got it all in the pages of a kid's book.
I try to, well, Boston is very special because it does encompass all of these things. And it's also very small. It's very tight, even though it is a city. And I did choose locations that were special to me. For instance, in the museum segment, I could have said the Museum of Fine Arts, but I didn't. I chose the Isabella Stewart Museum because as a little girl, I used to go wandering around the gardens of there. And I tried to choose places that would attract a child's attention. The swan boats, which are very beautiful, and the Arnold Arboretum, which is a gigantic garden in the middle of the city. And you cannot beat our hospitals and our response volunteers and our EMTs and all of them, and our police and fire people. And it's an amazing place that we live in. And I don't think I realized that as much until I had to put it down on 12 pages.
And if you were a parent who were moving here with your children, this is like a guidebook. It would not only educate your children as to what was it, but kind of tell you too.
Yes, it does.
That, you know, this bucket of potpourri is available for me to draw on to make my children and myself more comfortable in a community that they may never have lived in either.
Right. It's interesting because I moved from my home not that long after this came out, and the realtor who sold our house in Boston is using Boston You're My Home as a gift to new home buyers in Boston, which I thought was brilliant.
How is it being received by sales and population?
It's being received very well. It's a lot different than the other books that I've written because it's a lot broader. My previous books were about the environment, and that's a smaller kind of niche that you go into.
And flowers. I love
and flowers.
popcorn. You've been 25 years in the floral. Now, every time you were doing flowers, did you say, I'm going to write about this someday?
My first book, The Land of Chocolate Cosmos, I always wanted to write a story because that book is about a flower which actually smells like chocolate. So as a little girl growing up in the business, it was very special.
Mm-hmm.
So I did on that front. But Boston You're My Home is being picked up by Boston realtors. It's being sold in some sales carts in Faneuil Hall, different places where my previous books wouldn't have fit in.
The illustrator did you very well. Did you meet the illustrator?
No.
Pick the illustrator?
Unfortunately, I didn't.
Well,
I
they
haven't met
picked
him.
you, and didn't you luck out? I mean,
did.
It's welcoming. You know immediately that you'd want to pick it up and read it. I think they did an excellent job flying the colors inside. It's not kiddish. It's not child. You could have a teenager would be interested in picking this up and thumbing through it.
He did a wonderful job. This book in particular, Boston You're My Home, had to go through more editing than any other book that I've ever written. for all sorts of reasons. For instance, you know that this is a Celtics, but there is no Celtics. We had to go over this over and
Copyright.
over and over and over again. He had amazing patience to be able, because it's very difficult. And
and you certainly don't want to offend. If you want it for a positive reason and you want it to have a positive outcome, you don't, when you know there'd be somebody out there that would say, oh yeah, well, guess what?
Right.
You know?
Well, that was the other reason why sales for this book go directly to the One Fund after the book has been paid for through the cost to make the book. And we've donated $500 already to the One Fund, which was great.
That's
feels
sort of
good.
like pay it ahead.
Yes.
Yes.
None of us retained any of the sales money except for the cost.
And, you know, granite memorials, worshiping the date, you know, paying respect to those who are gone. But this is alive. This is remembering and going forward from a very tragic and sad event and making it a positive influence on the coming generations.
I hope so.
Thank you.
I tried.
You did a good job. Were you conflicted? Did it take you a long time to find the words?
No, it took me longer to decide to do it because they wanted an author from Boston, and Roberto is also from Boston too. They wanted the whole thing, anybody who was associated with this, from the artistic point of view. It took me longer to decide that than to write it. I think I gave them a call back in maybe 10 days, and it took me about 6 days to write out the poem of this. Because that's what the book is. It's one long, giant poem. And everybody was feeling so much at the time about this that I think that the words came pretty easily to me. It was just,
So
more
you were surrounded by the emotion, you just had to put them in line.
Right. Boston as a whole, I mean, you could feel that, and you can still feel it, but at the time, you felt so much that it came out pretty quickly.
And if you did something wrong, you'd also feel that.
Yes, I would. I tried my best to be as delicate and as respectful as I possibly could.
You did. You did a very good job. Where can people who want to acquire it get it? Barnes & Noble's websites?
Barnes & Noble, I know in Burlington is carrying it. I've done a couple of book signings around the area. Tatnut Books. Unfortunately, I can't track every single independent bookstore in particular, but you can buy it online at exoticflowers.com, and of course my website, thebeantown.tales.com. And it's pretty searchable. You search it in Google, and I think it's popping up on Target and Sears and that sort of thing.
It's not
Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble.
Very, very good. And you enjoy going, do you go to libraries? Do you talk to children's groups or go to schools?
I actually, I work in the children's department of the Westwood Library, and I've been there for maybe 4 or 5 months. They are a wonderful group of people, but I've also been able to learn a different perception of what children enjoy reading. And I think that if you're going to write children's books, you really got to put that in perspective. And I always have tried with my previous book, it's an environmental theme, but there's also flowers and there's also candies and popcorn and chocolate. Watching children come in every day and seeing the books that they pick up, it's
what
taught
they
me.
gravitate to.
Right. Even animals that they prefer reading about, dinosaurs and dragons, as opposed to maybe, you know, it's not sometimes even a cat. I mean,
My Little Pony.
Right.
And,
you can actually start surveying them and seeing what works and what doesn't, what's too complicating to understand, what's too simple.
Well, that we were saying previously, you limited it to pages for children's books and words.
Yes.
And I think that's because somebody did what you're doing. They probably get paid a heck of a lot more for it. But they know a children's attention span, how many pages they'll tolerate, just how long they can pay attention to the words before you lose them.
Right. Well, that's why poetry is so popular right now, because there's an easy flow to the words instead of long paragraphs, which all my books are written in poetry. This one happens to be a little bit longer than my previous ones, but just keep it upbeat. Having a wonderful illustrator really helps. Color attracts.
I equated it to the Midnight Ride of Paul Revere, and I would hope with its rhythm and its rhyme that children will learn it as you and I could probably recite the Midnight Ride of Paul Revere.
Right. They'll retain key words. It's also a great way to increase vocabulary, too,
Yes.
with kind of sneaking it in there. And
Yeah, and they don't have to look it up. I love it when an author has that sensitivity that they can lead a child to a new word instead of sending them to a dictionary.
Right.
The minute they get there, they know what the word means.
Right.
So it's not been that long since you were a little child and you remember how difficult that was.
I do remember. An article was written about me a long time ago for my first book, The Land of Chocolate Cosmos, and I used the word lucrative. And the interviewer said, it was interesting looking at your vocabulary. Do you think that word is too difficult? And I said, not at all, because I was just at a school visit and they understood immediately how that word was incorporated into the story. So they learned maybe not the exact definition of it, but they certainly learned the meaning, a general meaning of the word.
Everybody doesn't have the gift of speaking a child's language or understanding it.
Right.
You did a very good job. We're almost done, and you're going to do a follow-up.
Oh, I certainly hope so. I will be writing a lot more. Probably, maybe not on a Boston subject, but something else. But
Danvers is a lovely
Danvers
community.
is a lovely community. I will keep that in mind.
Onion Town, I've come to learn. And again, you had to learn. Why? So that sends you to learn something. It's the most welcoming community. They've certainly made me comfortable, and I hope we've made you comfortable.
Yes, you certainly have.
Would you please come back and visit us again?
I would love to. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good luck with the book. Boston, you're my home. 75 miles outside of Boston. Boston is still our home. Great book. Well done. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Bye for now.